Now, Alex Jones normally talks, he has an underline of mind control, which he's from Austin, Texas. They have a certain feeling about brown people. That's his form of mind control. So he does have his undertone of prejudices based on where he's been raised. Everybody has it. So, but he kept talking about it. He said, these brown youth are going around and beating up Lunars all over the place. He was like, it's all over the place and they're not reporting it. So rather than me getting gaslit, I decided to look into it. And guess what, y'all? He was correct. All of a sudden, there is this rash of brown young youth. Remember, they're probably NPCs. We don't even know who they are. No, they're not migrants. They're not migrants. These are brown youth from the United States that are beating up and going into lunar neighborhoods and also going into big stores and going and robbing. And I was like, wait a second. When did this start happening? Then I said, holy smack. They turned off the electrical fences. Brown people never used to go into Lunars neighborhoods. They never attacked Lunars because there was a formulated control frequency electrical fence that was purposefully created for a certain demographic for people, like animals, that disallowed them from ever attacking those who were of another background. It was, you can see it, y'all. I'm telling you, you got to look into what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about out my butt. I'm telling you, I want you to look, and I'm talking about Lunars and brown people. We need to be very proactive in this itself. I want you to look. You're going to notice that brown people 20 years ago weren't going into lunar. They had a fear of Lunars, even if they felt Lunars were doing harm to them, under mind control, doing stuff in their neighborhoods, Planned Parenthoods. They wouldn't attack lunar people. I used to think something was wrong with them because I was like, yo, if he's doing something to them, do something that's. They weren't doing it. They are now. The electric fence is off. Y'all, listen. And this is not to demonize anyone, because you know what happened with colonization. We're going to go into cosplay. But I'm just saying, the perimeters of frequency, the frequency that used to limit them had a brown Americans. Now, I don't know if this was started because the Haitians went buck wild, killing all the French for putting them under tyranny and raping and genociding their people and putting them under slavery. But I'm just letting you know, the United States, their electrical fences were purposefully instituted. It could have been after the Comanche and the freaking the Comanche and the other natives went buck wild. It could have been for that. Okay, so what happened? That I don't care where you sit in this position. I don't care if you're a lunar or brown. That's why I say when you come here, we are equal opportunity door. I talk about everything. So Alex Jones was talking about it for weeks, and I noticed, oh snap, they took off the electrical fences. So normally the mind control that brown people were under that told them that they could not destroy or hurt lunars was turned off. Now, whether that was purposefully done or that is because we're changing, we're going through a pole shift, so things are shifting, and electromagnetic field is actually different. I think it was purposefully done. It could be because of the pole shift, but remember, everything's changing, so it's almost like we're in a simulation, and the simulation has to go and revert back to its opposite. It does that all the time. It goes like this. Whenever we're in a pole shift, this is a simulated field. Whatever is up comes down, whatever is down goes up. It does that. So, they go and buck wild. That's why you see in the youth going into stores, robbing places like out of control, and going into neighborhoods that normally they didn't do. I didn't realize that Beverly Hills was being robbed. Did you guys know that? Maybe I just didn't know that. My friend, like Nikki from our group, and a couple of the C-stars said, in California, in Beverly Hills, they're getting robbed. They're getting hits. That didn't happen before. So they took down the electrical fence of frequencies that separated, that disallowed for people who felt that they were disenfranchised from hitting where they felt was where they felt like it was coming from. Whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter, okay? Because you know it's happened on the other side as well. So please refrain from thinking that just brownies are doing this, because you know before it was others, okay? So we keep it really even here. You know, in Brazil, I don't think they have that issue, because in Brazil, they robbing everybody if they in the favelas like that. The favelas feel like it's kind of built into the dynamics of, like, even though there's colorism and it's separated in colors, but the brown people are robbed. They'll rob a loner. They don't care. They don't really have that barrier between them and lunars. So they'll rob, like if they see you on Copacabana and you blonde hair, blue eyed, they'll rob you the same as they rob a brother from the United States. They are equal opportunists. They don't have those barriers. That's why I think that this was something that was purposefully done in the United States. Okay, how does this play in the conversation that I'm going to discuss right now? We're living in a time where many of you have recycled back and forth out of in this simulation. You've been reincarnated. Some of you are new. Now, there are beings coming into this field right now that are not real. Remember the girl on the plane? It's my ringtone. Remember the girl that got on the plane and she was sitting on the plane and she said, that motherfucker's not real. She was talking about some dude she saw in the back. Now, we don't really know what really happened on that plane. She kind of disappeared and they replaced her with a cosplay copy of her. Now, if you know what happened, y'all, on that plane, I don't know if y'all were following that. You know, if you're part of my groups or UFO and extraterrestrial groups, you know what happened. So she saw something on the plane that bothered her and she spoke on it. But when she spoke on it, there was never truly any there was nothing that we had concrete that we knew exactly what she was speaking on. No one ever spoke to her and she disappeared. Nobody knew who she was. And then they brought this like weird, funky look-alike. She didn't even really look like her. I don't know what kind of simulated being, what kind of NPC they took out of their back pocket. They brought a simulated being that was cosplaying this character. And she came out saying, oh, I saw this. Oh, wasn't that? Like it was creepy. Okay? They brought her out, replaced her with some fake. I don't know if they took her out because she went too far, maybe in the simulation. There's limits to this mother freaker where if you go too far, they got to, if you see too much, it's like they snatch the soul out of you. They were like, okay, just like the man who saw the giant and they killed him. You know what I mean? So when you see too much, like that's why they don't allow you to take pictures. We're in a simulation. That's why when you ever see people try to take pictures of aliens or Bigfoot or, you know, skinwalkers or anything like that, you ever notice that it's really hazy? It's because we're in a simulation. It's not because they're not getting the picture or they're not taking it. It's that the imagery isn't allowed. There's like it's like a policing system that automatically takes place. Like when you take a picture of a UFO and you notice you can't see it, it's because there's like a policing system, an alarm system that goes off that automatically knows to haze the picture or to blank it out, because that isn't allowed to be perceived right now in the matrix as we're in it. Okay, so anyway, so when you talk about the colonization of the cosplayers, okay, so what happens a lot of times, and I talk about this about the $5, I know you guys hate when I talk about it, but it's a fact, and it's easier to talk about the $5 Indians because that's the closest that I can talk about how someone can cosplay a native group, and people will believe it over time, because once you take out the originals, it's easy that a cosplayer can take over, because if you don't know what the original looks like, that's when people, like when I say there's natives, they fight me on it. They're like, Fleur, Brun, you are just mentally ill. I told you that already. You are mentally ill. You're making things up. Natives weren't African looking. But when I give them references to go to in Europe, in Italy, in Spain, or in France and England, where they didn't change because it's not the America, so they're not trying to hide anything over there as much because they don't live here. It's not priority for them to close the door. They'll hide it a little bit, and now because we talk about it, they're trying to put it. I showed you the guy where he had to go make an appointment to see the images. Okay, so when you don't know what an original indigenous look like, and you've been only seeing cosplayers who have been allowed to take on the imagery for whatever reason, it's an agenda. You know, the government likes to replace people. It will replace people, and then it will erase what the original visual and phenotype looks like. Okay? And it happens all the time. But, with the natives in the Americas, they did that, and you can see that a lot of times. So I always bring that up because it's a great example that I can use, that cosplayers will come over. It's the same thing with the whole trans agenda. The trans agenda isn't about people who, now I'm going to talk about the fact, I told you what I think that is. That's a governmental project. It's a project that is meant to, because I told you, I personally think that females, the original female, are the beings that have access to leave this portal. When the reset happens and the pole shift happens, right before the pole shift, whoever has time, whoever can exit is going to be a female. That's why they're cosplaying females right now. That's why you don't see many women going to men, but you see a whole lot of men going to women, because they're trying to piggyback off of the possibility and plausibility of taking the exodus out of here. And I also spoke about the fact that the only way that men will be allowed to leave through the same portal as women, if they're high enough and they match, they have the cosmic currency to be able to access those portals in order to wake up. They would have to be loved by a woman who's conscious, and a woman who's they would have to organically love the woman who's conscious, and she would have to organically love him. That's why mothers and sons have more of that possibility, because mothers always say, oh, I'm not leaving, but but that connection to mothers and sons is more organic. That's why also they're trying to destroy the relationship between mothers and sons and make it perverted and change it and distort it, because they know that we're getting so close to exodus and waking up out of this firmament, and they know that women can do it. So why do I bring the cosplay that comes with the trans agenda? That is a cosplay form of colonization. It's taking over the genre of a people, cosplaying a character. Like, when would you ever think it was okay for someone to put on blackface and walk around and act Negroidian? Like, yo, you know what I'm saying, son? You know what I'm saying? You would be insulted, right? You would say, oh my God, that is so racist. How could you do that? You're dressing up, putting on a fake fro, putting shoe polish on your face. That is so unethical. You would say that, right? But how come you're not saying it when men are dressing like women and cosplaying the personalities of women, like going over the top, like, oh my God, oh, don't do that. Those are my bras. Oh my God. And then cosplaying women. Why aren't you doing the same? Why aren't you just as offended when someone is playing costume, playing and overdoing it and making fun of women, cosplaying women to the point where even a natural woman isn't able to be, people can't discern someone who is a cosplay woman or an organic woman anymore. It's really sad. But you have to understand that is a form of the pirating that happens when we're going into different shifts. It's just like the movie Yentl. I bring that up because sometimes you get offended. So let me use a different example that may be more acceptable to you. In the movie Yentl, Yentl was a Jewish movie. It talked about back in the days when Jewish women weren't allowed to read the Torah, the Talmud, right? They were disallowed. And at the time, a woman having a book was considered to be blasphemous. It was illegal. Right? She could read children's books or picture books, but she wasn't allowed to read it. In the movie Yentl, she cosplayed a male in order to have access to be able to go to the yeshiva and study with the men in the Judaic university, which is the yeshiva, right? So I use as an example because this is not something that's new. And I want you to realize that when they push the agenda, then you have to ask yourself the question, how come most men and women can't tell the difference between a real organic woman and that's why you saw the Congress person sitting down like, what's a woman? Oh, a person who feels like, mother freaker, what? When we get our menses every month, is that something you could cosplay? When I'm pushing a whole baby out my beautiful portal, is that something you could cosplay? When I have hormonal changes that allow me to refresh and clear and change alchemically, is that something you could cosplay? The hormones in my body aren't things that someone can just dress up with makeup and heels and take on that persona. So why do I bring that up? Because now we're at a pinnacle point where people are trying to pirate, cosplay, and a lot of these beings that feel like they aren't real or they aren't what they are, a lot of them are NPCs. They aren't even real. If they aren't if it isn't something like they've been, under mind control, where they've been constantly bombarded with pictures and images of trying, or parents are trying to push them into this form of changing or feeling a certain way or pushing that narrative, that's something different. That's a form of mind control. There are real people, real children that are feeling this way because their parents are perpetuating it. And parents who usually do that are Satanists. Satanists do things like that. They are like the head of all kinds of mind control programming. They are like the key players in a lot of the reasons why you see like satanic principles and genres coming to the forefront. Okay? Those mother freakers, they are the reason why right now you go places and you are always told that it doesn't matter how other people feel. It doesn't matter if children are not to be sexualized. That's the reason why that's being pushed. Satanism is taken over. The United States, if you didn't know it was a Satanist country, let me just remind you, every country usually has a religious base. United States is a Satanist country. Okay, that's why you got all this. You got Meg, the man stallion, walking around with balls taped to his, inside of his legs, and he say, "Oh well, I'm 7 feet tall. I came from big women." Okay, but how many? There's a lot of tall women, and there's not a lot of tall women that are 6'1" or 6'2" and above. It's a rarity, but there are. But even if there is a tall woman, normally, using a word that is regarded as a male, see how they flip it? They use a term stallion because they're telling you what he really is. They're telling you what he really is. But then they hypersexualize him, so that you're sexually thinking that this is because they're cosplaying women. You would never know. I talk to men, like, listen, and I wanted to see how far this would go. I have men that dress like women, play like women, that cosplaying women. I show those images to men. 90% of the men can't tell the difference between a natural woman and a cosplaying woman. 90%. Because men have lost their ability to use their spiritual discernment and their pheromonic, because pheromones can be mocked too. Because a lot of times with these perfumes and everything from reptilians and insectoids, a lot of times these men don't even realize that these cosplayers are using female perfumes and pheromones. That's why they make pheromones, and that's why a lot of these cosplayers trying to be women will use female pheromones, so men don't even have the alchemical recognition that isn't a man, that isn't a woman. We're living in a world where dressing up like someone else is being accepted and pushed, and it's the same thing as, like, you have people who create a certain music, and then you'll have another group of people who like the music, so they'll get one or two of their best people, they'll mimic it, clone it, copy it, do it better, and then they'll put it out to the masses, and then the original people who made it, you won't even know they made it anymore because they cosplayed the motherfucker out of it. Okay? I'm sorry I'm purple pilling you. I'm talking about the simulation. I'm mentally ill. This is not to mock anyone. I am a trans myself, okay? So I'm speaking about trans, and I'm allowed to speak about the trans lifestyle because I've been a trans frog. I've been a trans bird. I've been a trans bug. So there's no shade. So if you come on here on YouTube, I am a trans, talking about trans agendas because I'm a trans. Okay? So for that reason, right now I brought up all these things that are happening because now we have a switching going on. And what used to be it was a trans panda. Thank you, Jesse James. I forgot about that. I gotta get my trans panda outfit back. I love my trans panda moment. I did. That was a good moment I had as a trans panda. I was that for like 2 months, y'all. Yeah, because I was pregnant at the time. I had a big old tummy. Yeah, I was enjoying it. I loved it. You know what? I might have to go by trans panda. You know what? Thank you for that. Anyway, What's that on my neck? This it's not Satanist though. Well, Satanists can claim everything. Everything's Satanist, so I guess anything could be Satanist, right? Okay, so we have all these trans agendas. We have all these things going. Let me state this first for someone who asked me, because before you even, I am zero Satanist. I have absolutely zero connection to Satanists. I absolutely detest and disgusted by people who molest and rape children and eat children and genocide anyone. So let me put that out there. So if you come on here saying, oh, she's a Lilith, she's a witch, I absolutely repel, reject, and rebuke everyone who does things like that. I am a protector of children and animals. I absolutely and in zero way connect to anyone who does Satanist acts of abusing children, molesting children, having anal sex, all that stuff. So please, if you see something on my neck and so on, these are the things you have to wear to come on here and deal with these Satanist bastards on here. Oh, I might be a Smurf today, right? Because I'm wearing blue. Okay? So when you ask something like that, just know, because some of you will, because some of the people in here are NPCs. We don't even know who's an NPC until they start, because NPCs can appear to look and be humanoid. You can't tell, but the only way you can really tell is that NPCs have absolutely zero originality. NPCs have absolutely zero. They only copy and paste other people's genres. They can't make anything up. They can't create a language. They can't, all they can do is copy you. So they cosplay everything that you say. If you say, like, say word, all of a sudden they say in everything you say. That's why it's important that the part of you that's zested, that was created by your parents, that you created by the things and experiences you had, you don't sell that to people online. That's why FB was created, so they could basically get all of our information, what you like, what colors you like, how you see things, what are your favorite foods, you know, what kind of smells you like, what kind of things you like to wear. They're trying to get enough information so they could cosplay you, and just like in Westworld, they want to take everything that you have, cosplay and replace you, get rid of you, so that they can pretend that they're you. NPCs don't have that. They want to copy you. That's why they want to know what you're wearing, where you get that from. You ever see somebody that meets you is like, where you get that from? What you wearing? What you wear? What you like to eat? How you